What's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and it really should be a fun week. We already got an update for the Switch 2 pre-order, so I'm going to give you all of the latest on that. And then we also got the big surprise reveal from Xbox and Bethesda. I mean, okay, this might not be as much of a surprise for you all that follows the channel and just kind of stays in the know, since we've been covering this pretty much all year. But for anybody who's not in the know, they're about ready to get rocked by one of the greatest RPGs of all time, being none other than Oblivion. So stay tuned. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you so much for what you do. I truly do appreciate you. Let's go and get right into things, though. And like I said, it really should be a fun week. And that first starts off with some Persona 4 Remake speculation. The P4RE website recently received another update. And this is actually really interesting because this website and just how it's playing out almost identically resembles the lead up to Persona 3 Reload and its reveal. So this could be an early indication that the Persona 4 Remake will be revealed sooner rather than later. Now, I will remind you that that doesn't necessarily mean that it will release this year, and in fact, if we go back and look at Persona 3 Reload, it got revealed about 8 months before its official launch. It was first revealed at the Xbox Summer Showcase back in June of 2023, and then it released in early 2024. So under a similar timeline, we could once again get another Xbox Summer Showcase reveal, which is planned for June, and then it could potentially get an early 2026 release. Either which way, Persona 4 is an incredible JRPG, and that is putting it lightly. It's actually my personal favorite within the franchise and really just one of my personal favorites for the genre, period. Thanks to its characters, its small town atmosphere, and its mysterious story. So if you haven't already played this game, definitely keep this one on your radar. And even if you have, like myself, be excited because it's worth another playthrough. Now, of course, we got more Switch 2 news, including a Switch 2 port that seemingly is surprising some people online, being Assassin's Creed Shadows. I mean, regardless of how you feel about the quality of Shadows, it's definitely a controversial title to say the least. But this is still a brand new AAA title with demanding graphics. And what's happening here is that it's currently showing up for the Switch 2 on the PEGI rating board. And that's the part that's taking some people aback. We're still in an early phase where the Switch 2's capability is somewhat unknown, and Nintendo was kind of battling that mantra of having an underpowered machine. That's how a lot of people just view Nintendo. But this is yet another early indication that the Switch 2 is more than just a little bit capable. We've seen that already with Cyberpunk 2077 and Street Fighter 6. Not only do they run on the Switch 2, but even more impressive is that the Switch 2 holds its own against other modern hardware options like the Xbox Series S as one such example. I mean, when you're talking about a handheld console that has a 120 FPS HDR display that can go toe-to-toe with something like the PlayStation 4, the PS4 Pro, or even the Xbox Series S, that's very impressive, especially when you compare it to other handheld devices like the Steam Deck. And one reason for that might be because Nintendo's partnership with NVIDIA. I mean, if they have any secret sauce at all under the hood of the Switch 2, then it would probably be NVIDIA DLSS. This is the best AI upscaling technology in the business, which they have almost exclusively to themselves. In fact, CD Projekt Red revealed that they're utilizing DLSS in the Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk. So I think the Switch 2 is really going to surprise a lot of people here in the coming months in just how truly capable it actually is. I'm expecting a lot of third-party port announcements for its first year, including some graphically demanding games that Nintendo consoles aren't typically used to getting. Now, since we're on the topic of the Switch 2, let's go and talk about its pre-orders. I know a lot of you are probably currently preparing for its pre-order period, and you might even be a little bit stressed out. Now, I'm hoping to fix that part for you at least somewhat and just kind of help you get through this period because, sadly, the pre-order process anymore tends to be a little stressful. I mean, back in the day, we just simply went to the store and said, hey, let me pre-order that console, and they'd be like, yeah, man, we got your back. Unfortunately, though, that's just not how it works anymore. If you look back at the Xbox Series X, and especially for the PlayStation 5, it was a nightmare. to get your pre-order in. And it really feels like this has been happening with pretty much any kind of anticipated launch that even has a mild amount of demand. I mean, look at the Pokemon card scene as one such example. I don't really buy into that stuff, but I've been hearing some pretty outlandish and just, I mean, quite honestly, scummy things that happens with each new set in its launch. This is just another reason that I absolutely hate scalpers. They just ruin the fun for everybody. So really, I'm just expecting the worst when it comes to the Switch 2 launch, and the best thing that I can do for you all and to make it as stress-free as possible is to give you all the details that I can so you can pre-order the Switch 2 as soon as you possibly can. So here we go. Best Buy, Walmart, and Target will all hold their online pre-orders at the exact same time, being 12 a.m. at midnight Eastern Time on April 24th. Now, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link below, which includes a link to each outlet and the exact listing to where you need to be. So as soon as it hits midnight, you'll already have the link available to you, so you need to be on one or all of these outlets, preferably all, so you can hit that refresh button. Now, because there's going to be thousands upon thousands of other people doing the exact same thing as you, go ahead and expect these websites to crash out. They're probably not going to let you check out immediately, which, based on past launches, is completely normal for these high-demand launches. And that's why you need to have your credit card information, your password, and your address prepared ahead of time. Now, my recommendation is to go out and fill out all of that today if you haven't already, and to set that information as your default so you can check out as quick as you possibly can. Now, in terms of which outlet is going to give you the best opportunity, I wouldn't really count on any outlet more than the other. Again, if you can have all these windows open at the same time, that's going to increase your chances. But I will say one thing. Bundles might be your friend. Now, what I mean by that is that Best Buy, as one such example, they're going to have pre-made bundles as a part of their pre-orders. So that means that if the standalone Switch 2 and the Mario Kart World Digital Bundle sells out, those are the two SKUs that Nintendo announced. But you will have other bundle options available for varying prices that these retailers put together themselves. Best Buy has various options, so, don't give up if just one SKU sells out. And in fact, based on past console launches, a lot of times these retailers drop pre-orders in waves. So they might sell out, let's say, in the first 10 minutes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be another supply drop shortly after. Sometimes they'll drop them in waves by a 10 to 15 or even a 30-minute interval. So again, don't give up in the first few minutes when something says it's sold out. That could be an error, or they could just simply be releasing them in waves to kind of deal with the huge amount of traffic that they're going to get on their website. Now, I hope this pre-order period is a lot easier than I'm making it out to be, but, like I keep saying, prepare for the worst, because that will give you the best opportunity to get your pre-order in as quick as possible. However, if you miss out on, let's say, Target, Walmart, and Best Buy's midnight pre-order period, well, the good news here is that GameStop will have their own pre-order period the following morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for online pre-orders, or as soon as the store opens in your local area if you want to pre-order in person. Now, if you do want to pre-order in person, you have a couple of options to you. You can, camp out. That'll probably boost your chances quite significantly. And something that you might want to do ahead of time is to call your GameStop or to visit them ahead of time and just ask, how many units are they expecting to get at their store? That way you have at least a good idea as to whether or not you made it in time, if that makes any sense. Either which way, though, good luck to everybody, really including myself here. I really want this thing personally. I'm absolutely ready for the next generation of Nintendo by this point, and I'm hoping, hope's the key word here, but I'm hoping that it won't be too much of a struggle. Crossing my fingers for all of us in this case. Okay, now one last thing before we go, and I'm very happy to say this, but that Oblivion remaster is now 100% official. I mean, if for whatever reason, if you just didn't believe the leaks from last week, or the week before, or really the month before, or even back during the FTC versus Microsoft case, yeah, this has not been a well-kept secret. We'll kind of leave it at that. But they finally revealed it in some of its glory. I mean, we got the key art here. Simply has the Roman numeral 4 with its reveal set for tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can watch it on YouTube or Twitch, whichever one you prefer. But this is a massive reveal. And I mean, really, it's kind of crazy how they're unveiling this game. If the leaks are actually true and that it's going to launch this week with a shadow drop, then I mean, we're legitimately talking about one of the biggest shadow launches ever. I mean, if Xbox and Bethesda actually does it this way, then they must really believe in the word of mouth that they're about ready to get to launch it that way. But I mean, if there's any franchise that can pull off a surprise launch out of nowhere, then yeah, I would bet on the Elder Scrolls series. Skyrim really catapulted this franchise to just legendary status, and Oblivion, in terms of its quality, it's right there with Skyrim. So if you've never played it, which, I mean, this is a pretty old game by this point, a lot of you probably haven't, but you're in for a real treat, assuming that this remake is actually well handled. Now, hopefully it is, but, you know, the truth is that part still remains to be seen. The unfortunate casualty here, and this is just kind of a side note, but I'd say is for another day one Game Pass game that's planned for this week, being Expedition 33. I talked a little bit about this last week, but that's planned for April 24th, and to have Oblivion, a much bigger and well-known IP, to release the same week, again, if the rumors are actually true that it's going to get a shadow launch, then yeah, I could see that being a little bit of an issue for Expedition 33, and I almost have to wonder if that studio that worked on Expedition 33 would have still chosen to launch on April 24th if they had that information ahead of time. I mean, I'll say it this way. If I'm Xbox's partner, I'm planning to release my game into Game Pass, and if they didn't give me this information ahead of time, which I think is very important, then personally, I would be a little bit annoyed because I probably wouldn't have launched the same week, but hey, you know, that's just my opinion. What I'll say is I hope Expedition 33 is as good as it looks, and I hope it finds success alongside Oblivion. I hope both of these games find success, but either way, like I keep saying, this really is going to be a fun week, and yeah, let's go. Oblivion is about to be back, which is almost hard for me to believe, but I am super pumped about this, and hopefully you are as well. Anyways, though, that's gonna be for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.